Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Sweeping 6. Today I'm reviewing the Seiko5 KX diver. The model number is SRPD79. Let's get into it. So I bought this watch a little bit earlier this year. I was kind of going for that subdued, blacked out diver look. I didn't care too much about, in terms of like functionality, just because I'm not really a diver, but I did want to kind of get that stealthy look out of my watch. So I decided to purchase this. I bought it for like $170. That was a really good deal at the time, and now today it's probably unheard of for a brand new one for one of these. I think the prices now are going 300 and over at this point. But nonetheless, not a bad watch for the money, I guess. You could probably find some better divers in terms of performance, like the Steinhardts or the Christopher Wards or even other Seikos. But I chose this one just because I found it for such a low price, and I think it really kind of hits the nail, and all the things that I was kind of looking for. So just to speak a little bit about it, we've got like the all black case. I think it's probably like a PVD coating here. I'm not familiar with all the different types. I think there's like a DLC or something, but I believe this one is PVD. I'll let you guys answer that. So I think it's probably on like the lower end in terms of like the coating that you could have in terms of like scratch resistance and durability. This one is kind of scratch prone, I'd say, but it's not terrible. And you can see I haven't worn this a whole lot, but I do have like some really minor scratches around here, and then a pretty bad ding over here. I don't think this one's kind of indicative of the watch itself. I hit my wrist against a marble table in my kitchen, and that's kind of how it came. I don't really blame this one on the watch, but since it was probably my fault, but I don't think that this particular case is that scratch resistant, so I would be careful. And you do have a little bit of bezel play here. The bezel action's okay. It's not really that good, and it's unidirectional. I think that's 120 clicks. It's got the black, the bezel here, with this sort of black insert. It's probably like some sort of aluminum material, or could be some sort of plastic. I'm not actually sure. But it holds up pretty well. It's not really prone to getting damaged or scratched, but the thing is with this particular watch, if you're looking for more functionality, something that's really water resistant, something that you could go diving in, I wouldn't recommend this watch. And here's why, really. One, you don't really have any Loom on this watch. We can do a Loom test for you here. I'll probably do that a little bit later in the video. But, it's got like this brushed aluminum on like the arrows and even the hour markers. But it doesn't really have Loom there like at all, really. But another thing in terms of water resistance, I think this one is probably 100 meters, or it might be 200 meters. I'm not exactly sure. So it's not 300 meters, which is pretty standard for a lot of divers. But it is what it is. You get what you pay for. I personally probably wouldn't buy this watch at $300. But if you can find it for 200 or sub 200 like I did, then go for it. If it really knocks your socks off in terms of design, just know that you're not really going to get the best functional tool watch when you buy this. It does have a day and date function, as you can see there. So another thing I wanted to show here was sort of how you use the day and date function. So you're going to pop the crown out once, and to turn it clockwise, and you're going to turn it clockwise, I should say, to change the day. But one cool thing I noticed is that it has a Spanish day function, where, you know, you can set it to Spanish settings. So like if I'm on Sabado, which is Saturday, and you know it hits 12:01 and it's gonna change. It's not gonna change to Sunday. It's gonna change to Domingo. So that's kind of cool how it kind of skips the English, or you know, skips the Spanish depending on whatever you know language you're on. But it's kind of cool that they have that feature, and I like the fact that they have this sort of you know, red lettering for Sunday and Domingo. But yeah, it's essentially how you would just change the day. The date function is just counterclockwise, and it's got a nice click to it. I don't know if you guys can hear that. And then obviously to set the time, you're just gonna pop the crown out once more, a little bit farther, and then pretty smoothly you can set it to the right time that you want. Pop it back in place. The second arrow will continue running. So I guess it's got this, you know, I think they call it a hacking feature. So that's a plus. You know, the light that I use for this video is actually pretty helpful because it's pretty indicative of what, you know, color the real color of the watch. It is kind of like a dark gray, not necessarily black all around. I think it is coming out a little bit lighter than usual. The case is definitely black, but parts of the dial, like maybe the markers, are kind of like a gunmetal gray, and you know, I don't think the dial is the darkest black, but you know, it still does the job for me. But it would have been nice to have a little bit of a darker shade for this watch, and maybe, you know, the brush finishing on the hands and the arm markers, maybe kept those like the gunmetal gray, and then maybe make the actual insides of the markers and the arrows more black. But I guess maybe it was just their intention to add some lume to this watch, so that's kind of why they have like the grayed out markers and you know, whatever they use for the lume. It comes on a NATO strap, you know, black canvas. It's not a bad strap. Seiko doesn't really make the best straps, so if you really want a good durable NATO strap, I would suggest, you know, buying aftermarket. I think the lug width is 20 millimeters, so you definitely have a lot of options there. I like to pair this with a NATO, or, you know, some of these paracord straps you might find at cheapestnatostraps.com. You know, maybe go with like a khaki or like an olive green color. I think would look really good with this watch. And then one thing I forgot to mention is the crystal. It's not a sapphire crystal. I think it's just a standard, you know, glass crystal. And it kind of, I don't know if you can see that, but it kind of dips downward around the perimeter of the you know, crystal, where you can actually like put your fingernail inside. So I'm not sure why that is. I would have preferred, you know, obviously a sapphire crystal where it's higher quality, but you know, since the watch was inexpensive, I'm not surprised it didn't put a sapphire crystal. Probably would have been the most expensive part of the watch. But you know, I think the crystal's fine. I haven't gotten any real scratches on it, so you know, it does what it does. And you know, I'm happy with it. So let's get this strap off. I'll show you guys the back side of the watch. So here we have the 24 jewels. Stainless steel. Water resistant 10 bars, so I think that's 100 meters. But yeah, do let me know. You know, it's not the prettiest case back, but you know, I think it's pretty decent for Seiko. You know, I think just having a case back at this price point is a luxury. So, you know, if you're paying a couple $100 on a dive watch and it has a clear case back, and you know it's not from China, so I just like the fact that they had that feature. All right, let's go ahead and try the Loom test now. If you see here, it's actually pretty legible, um, in the complete darkness. And I let this sit for about 30 seconds directly under a light source. So it's not too bad, but I think it fades pretty quickly. Um, and obviously, since we have such high contrast in terms of light, it's pretty legible. So I guess in a situation where you go from extreme light to extreme darkness, it would hold up pretty decently. Um, but truthfully, under low light where it's still pretty visible, um, and you weren't under like a direct light source, it may not hold up very well. So if I turn the lights back on here, and then just kind of dim my lights a little bit. Let's try that one more. You don't really see any Loom going on. It's just kind of hard to tell really, but yeah, it's not super high contrast that you might see on some of these like super Looms that you have on like the Prospect divers, or like the Omega Seamaster, for instance. But I guess it holds up okay. Again, this watch, I don't think it was made for functionality, but just to have Loom, this watch is all right. The fact that it has it is okay, I guess, because you don't really pay much for it. But I think if you're building a watch that's mainly a fashion watch, quote unquote, not really a tool watch, then I think it's kind of pointless to even have the Loom feature. I think it would have just been better if they went with darker, indices without the Loom effect, or just went full Loom effect, just to add functionality to it. I just feel like they're kind of playing both sides on this one. But yeah, do let me know in the comments what you guys think.